What up, everybody? Hey, welcome to the Moving the Military podcast. And that's right, you've been here with us for going on our sixth episode. Hey, as always, I am the co-founder, Matt Grudel right here, Coach Brutal of Moving the Military, and your co-host. And as we do each and every single week, I am here with the hostess with the mostest, my co-founder, the co-host, the one and only Dina Watson. And Dina, before you even speak, I'm going to jump in today because, man, I love today's topic, right? I love today's topic around owning the PCS cycle. And I'm going to say owning because what we're going to talk about today in this next 30 minutes, 45 minutes, wherever we're at, is actually owning the PCS cycle, not waiting on it, not adjusting to it, not just living through it, dealing with it, but actually owning it, being prepared, being ready, being structured, and making the absolute freaking most out of it.
Yeah, you're like planting your flag.
Yeah.
So we've been here for you guys. We're gonna keep. At what episode, Matt, do you think we quit being excited about our consistency?
100.
Yeah, you guys, we're being real with you guys. We, as the kids say these days, keeping it 100 with you all. Matt tried the 6-7 thing a minute ago, but apparently my 8-year-old has informed me that has died. So we're excited about that. But we're excited because we have a lot of really great ideas and they rarely see 6 weeks in a row. And so apparently this is a little more than a good idea, Matthew.
We're actually focused. It's with the right amount of energy right now, delivering the way we should have been delivering for a long time. But hey, at 51 and at 51 and 21, we start to learn, what we need to do. So today's about
spending the money on that Botox if you're going to keep telling me over.
That's
21.
it. Keep spending the money on the Botox at 21. 51 is the new 30, right? So here's the deal. We talked about today. We're going to talk about owning the PCS cycle. We and you have gone back and forth, and we've talked about this, and we've coached hundreds of agents and groups and spoke about this all the time. And I think that what we've really done is it comes down into 4 segments, 4 cycles, 4 pillars, however you want to describe it. It's the power of 4. And when you leave this call today, they're going to leave today with some information that they can absolutely just rinse and repeat. So if you're on this call, if you're listening to it, get your pen, your pencil out, watch it again. We're actually going to give you strategy and tactics because, I love to say this now. I'll probably run it dry, but information without implementation is self-deception. And today you're going to get information and implementation. So Dina, tell them a little bit about today.
Yeah, today's going to be super tactical, super short compared to our other podcasts. We want this to be less than 30 minutes in, out, on with life. And we're going to give you if you had to look at a calendar, if you're a real estate agent in the military space and you want to quit reinventing the wheel over and over again, this podcast is for you. We're firm believers that the military doesn't reinvent anything. Like, things have been going on the same way for eons. And so this is something that no matter what year you're listening to this in, it's going to work. One of the advantages I think we have being agents in the military space is that the military doesn't change the way it does things very often. So we don't have to either, unlike our compadres in the luxury space or the, commercial space. All of those things are always changing. For us, they're kind of not, which is
some tweaks, some adaptations, some recalibration. That's it.
Yeah, a couple sprinkles here and there, but nothing crazy. So what we want you to do right now on your piece of paper is we're going to give you 4 segments of the year and what's going on, not only in the military at that time, but as a real estate agent, what should you be doing in each one of those segments in 28 minutes or less? Let's go. Okay. Phase or segment number 1 is going to happen from January to March. So if you're writing this down, you're going to write down January to March. And under that, you're going to write down peak, but not peak PCS. It's peak what, Matt?
Peak positioning. It's how you position yourself in this prime time.
Peak positioning in prime time. So if you are, and we're going to deep dive into each one of these, but we're going to give you the highlights and then we're going to go reverse and go back to the top. January to March is peak positioning time as a real estate agent, meaning your job during that time is going to be broken down into how do you position yourself as the number 1 authority in your marketplace. Now, number 2 is going to happen from April to late August. So we're just going to put April to August. That's actually peak transaction time. And I think everybody who's been here more than a year knows that. That's when majority of the real estate transition happens in the military communities. And I will give you a fun fact, and this is an average fun fact, so you might want to check on what it is in your area. But about 60 to 65% of all closed transactions in military markets happen between late April, early May to the end of August. So that section is when you're going to feel like your hair is on fire 24/7, 365, and most of your window of opportunity happens in that small section of the year.
Yeah, this is what I like to call, and I said it earlier, this is rip it season, right? This is where you're drinking the rippets, right? The old military, the rippets. This is
Or
rip it season.
Alani's. If you're a military spouse, please drink Alani's. Let's not do
Yeah,
rippets.
Alani, rip it, but this is rip it season right now.
We're not doing the rippets. If you're a milspo and you're doing rippets, you and I have a problem. I was telling Matt earlier, and whatever, we'll get back to the podcast in a second. I think that some of the cancer problems that military veterans have come from the rippets, not the other things that they say. Those things are awful for you.
Know if it's the rippets. It's probably the cases of water that laid on pallets uncovered, baking in 110 degrees, just creating microplastics that we drank like it was nothing. So, but either way, so rippet season, right? Rippet season is April to August. This is your peak transaction season. And then we go into what?
Yeah, we go into September and October, and that is where you will see some of a second wave of transition. I believe because they're probably trying to spend their money before the new fiscal year. But September, October, there's like another teeny tiny little blip on the radar where people are being moved. And Matt's going to talk more to this, but I think a lot of those are also happening with people who are moving for schools and TDY, short duration things. Not permanent moves, although there are some during that
But
time.
this is where being the local economist of choice, the person that knows your local installation base and what is actually provided there, and we'll talk about that.
Yep. And then the fourth one is November and December, and that is I'm not a subscriber to the idea that we have to grind through every single month of the year. I used to pitch that. So if you coached with me back in the day, I was parroting the masses, as Matt would call it.
Because we've evolved.
We've evolved. When people aren't moving in your community, I'm not saying you take your foot off the gas, but the purpose of November and December is planning and recalibration window, reflection on what you've been doing, what worked, what didn't, creation time. So you can label November and December planning and creation time because that's what we want you to use it for. So let's kind of go back up to the top, Matt, and let's unpack January and February, or January to March. So this is the prime window when people in our communities are sniffing out the fact that they're probably getting orders and they've got a projected space of where they're going on those orders. Can you talk about, from like the service member side of things, what's happening in January to March time window for a service member that our community is going to serve?
Yeah, it depends on, what branch you're in, but this is where marketplaces opened up. You're looking at, what's the next potential place I could go to? What's my next career advancement assignment? How long have I been here? Do I have orders coming in? And so because we know that's about to come, what starts happening is we start researching the location we know we're going to go to, or the 2 to 3 locations that we think we're going to go to, because the hardest part about PCS, and you've been there, I've been there, is connecting within that community fast enough so that when the 3 years go by or 4 years, you're not just like, damn, I never did that one thing, right? So we're starting to research our potential locations in this time. And this is where the real estate agent that is at the top of their game, right? The professional is actually starting to create awareness, positioning, branding, and things like that.
Yeah, so the one piece of advice I'm going to give everybody, and then we're going to break down the 5 things that you should be doing right at that space. But if you're a real estate agent, you have to put yourself and position yourself where people are looking. So in your community, they probably are going on Facebook groups. They're probably searching in TikTok. They're probably going on YouTube. They're in Reddit forums. They're in all of these different places. And I would ask myself, if I'm in your shoes, am I present in those places? We're going to talk in detail about this. We're probably going to spend most of the call today, the podcast today, on this one window because that's the window we are currently in while filming. It is February of 2026 today, February 12th, actually. And so we are right in the middle of this window, and we want to make sure we spend enough time on that today. We'll come back and do a more in-depth on the second half of the year. But let's kind of let's break this down. So if I'm an agent, here's what I should be doing. First, your job right now is to re-engage your entire database. Okay. So we're talking about past clients that you've had. Now, caveat here, I'm all for playing smarter, not harder. The game I play internally, Matt, is how can I do the smallest amount of work possible for the most amount of money I can garner.
Well, you
So,
know me, I'm always looking for a twofer. I'm
yeah.
looking for a twofer in everything that I do.
So let's talk about working smarter, not harder with your past clients. There are schools of thought that we should just divide our database evenly and call everybody all the way through. And I do not buy that for a dollar because yes, we should eventually talk to everyone. But if I'm an agent right now in a military community, my first calls are going to be people who moved here 3 to 5 years ago. Why?
Well, let's call it time. I'm going to call a timeout real quick.
Mhm.
So you said something really key in that, right? There's a train of thought that says you should divide your database up and call them all the time. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Yet, in the military niche, you got to be more specific and more strategic. And so, why are you recommending and why are we recommending that I call the people that were 3 to 4 or 5 years ago? Well, because they're the ones that are probably in the process right now of opening marketplace, looking at their thing, figuring out. They're the ones that are going to get orders. The people from a year or 2 years ago, very highly unlikely. And not that you wouldn't spin your wheels because you're gaining mind share, you're building the reputation, you're keeping a relation. But if you want to be tactical, you need to understand that the people that moved 3 to 4 years ago or bought 4 to 5 years ago, they're the ones getting ready to come up on orders. They're the ones that you can capture right now.
Yeah, so I would go there first. The second group of people you're going to re-engage are people last year who told you that they were going to rent, or people last year who moved on base or post, because those people are prime for the pickings, if you will, for buying a home right now. So anyone who you spoke to last year that moved on base, moved on, into a rental, I'm reaching out to those people. Then what I'm doing is I'm looking for people who maybe we're toying with the idea 6 months to a year ago. Last summer, they said they'd think about it, but you don't really know what they did after that. I'm going to reach back out to them. And then if you have time left over in your day, you're going to reach back to everybody else that you've bought or sold with, people in your sphere, whatever. I don't want you guys to think that we don't want you calling people outside of that 3 to 5 years ago window. It's just you go there first because the highest likelihood of a transaction is not going to happen with somebody who bought a house last year. It's going to happen with someone who bought 3 to 5 years ago.
Well, it goes back to the rental conversation, we talk about all the time. Somebody that you worked with 9 months ago that for some reason chose not to pull the trigger, whatever, it wasn't best for them to move. They're in that window where, like you said earlier, like, hey, they haven't talked to their landlord yet. They haven't committed to a new lease yet. They're at that 9-month mark. Hey, now's the time to dust them off and figure out what's going on with them because there could be a giant change and they may not know what they don't know in the current trends in the market. So just like the ones from 3 to 4 years ago that bought, we want to dust those off that are rented or moved into housing 9-10 months ago before it's time to re-up.
Well, and then let's talk about how can we do that? Because everyone says, I don't know what to say. Say anything. But the other thing you could do is think about instead of asking these people, hey, are you going to move in the next, month or two? You could call those people and say, hey, just curious. I know a few people who moved when you did just got orders. Are you guys going to come down on orders this season? They will already know that. Now, and then you're not asking something that feels salesy. You're asking like, hey, are you happening to get orders? I know a lot of people who came when you did are getting them. Are you guys getting moved this year? They will know that. If, there are very few, I was a part of one of them, unfortunately, but there are very few people who get like dropped out of nowhere orders that they weren't expecting. Most people know they're coming up on that cycle in the next 12 months at some point.
Eight
So,
PCSs not only happened one time.
yeah, we've only had that happen one time too. It's not nice when it happens, but most of the time people will know. So instead of asking, are you going to buy this year or sell this year? What you could say is, are you going to get orders this year? To them, it sounds different. To you, it means the exact same thing. It means opportunity. Number two, and Matt's going to take a lot more of this one than I do. We've been diving really deep in this. Your second job right now in this January to March window is to push education-based content.
Yeah.
Matt, you want to speak to that?
Yeah. So here's the thing. To push that, if you think about social media, you push the education-based content. There's a lot of ways to do it, right? But for me, man, in January, I'm educated. You know, it goes back to this, and you can write this down. Your job is to make them feel like a local before they're a local. This is the way they assimilate and they connect in the community better, right? So how do you do that? Well, the month of January, I'm talking about local things like local eateries, local coffee shops, the brand new ice cream, things that I know people and families go to locally, right? And so January is all about local. Well, in
You said
February,
ice cream in January?
oh yeah, I'm eating ice cream
Come
24/7. Come
on.
on now,
Okay,
right?
keep
Look at
going.
me, right? So, and then we and then we go into February, right? February, I'm ramping it up, right? I'm leveling up my local economist of choice. I'm localing up my subject matter expert. I'm leveling up my ability to be a connector. Now I'm talking about activities. I might be talking about schools, events, things that are going on to the community that they would like to be a part of. I'm talking about commute reality, what the actual reality is around commutes. And then as we get to March, now
Terrible.
March, because I have been a subject matter expert, people are following me. I've created looky-loos. I've created an audience about all the things that are going. Well, now in March, I'm starting to talk about the market, the housing areas, the rental. I'm not leading with real estate. I'm connecting them, making them feel like a local before they're a local in this 90-day path to when they actually have orders, I've already gained trust.
Yeah, I want you guys to write this down. The concept of authority is built before urgency because I've seen so many people. We even have people ask us this is like once people how do I get in front of people once they get their orders? You're asking the wrong question.
Yeah, because and I don't and please everybody, you guys know we talk truth here.
Yeah.
Asking the question of how do I get in front of them once they get their orders? Two things. Wrong question, and you're already too late.
You're already late. Yeah. So the January, February, March window is how do I when people are going to these Facebook groups and they're searching for, parks, first I would encourage you to see what they're searching for and create a freebie that you could drop into that
Mhm.
comment without having to type it all out. So if someone is searching for, what are the best daycares in this side of town? You're not going to create something that says best daycares. You're going to create something that says daycares by ratings on Google. You're going to go on there and you're going to put their Google rating 5 stars out of 300, whatever. Here's this daycare. Here's their information. And you're going to create like a little cheat sheet thing that you can drop into the comment section when people are asking those questions. That's how you're going to build authority. And of course, at the bottom, it's going to say real estate agent and all your required marketing stuff. But just remember, this is where we're building authority. Now, number 3, and I know a couple people who do this really, really well. You should be hosting a PCS planning virtual event every single month, maybe even twice a month for this first 3 months. What do they need to know before they get orders? What do they need to know if they're leaving? What do they need to know if they're coming to your area? And you're going to create kind of an orientation. Like if you're PCSing to Fort Campbell, here's your orientation to Campbell, here's your orientation to Clarksville, and here's your orientation if you're leaving here, what the market looks like. Create some sort of an event on Eventbrite, teach it live, record it, chop it up, use it for content, whatever. But every single one of you at this time should be hosting a PCS planning event. I would suggest it be virtual because not many people in our community come to things like that in person, but a relocation planning webinar.
Yeah, because here's the thing, man. Every single one of you on this call that's watching it right now that's been part of the military that's either moved or been with someone that's moved, you do not get that in your welcome brief. Sorry, services. You don't get that in your welcome brief. Even if they make the families come, you're not getting that and you're still losing that level of connection that you can fill the gap on.
Yeah. Now, the next thing you should be doing, we're going to fly through this because I think it's self-explanatory. You should be building your vendor bench because there's nothing worse than when you're drowning in the next group of months, which is April to August. You are absolutely drowning and you have no resources. So right now you're looking for lawn care people, contractors, HVAC people, plumbers, electricians, all of that. And you're connecting with them and saying, number one, are you still in business? Because some of them are not. I mean, I think that's something to make note of. The economy's been hard the last few years. Some of them are not. But you're also looking for who are 2 or 3 of them in each category that you're going to need so that you have them like real quick.
Well, this is how you become like I love to say the lifestyle concierge, not just a real estate agent. And number 2, your vendor, the ones that you vet, the ones that you select, they're the ones that help really foster and solidify that 5-star experience, right? A bad vendor takes you from 5 to 4 stars instantly.
Yeah, and I would also say photographers are probably somebody you should have a couple of, because if people are booked and you need it right then, you need it right then. Now, the last one is your referral alignment groups. And so the whole January to March timeframe, I would be looking at where do people usually PCS from and where do they go? And I'm going to call 3 to 5 agents in each one of those base areas. Of course, if you dive into the Moving the Military group on Facebook, we have people from all over the country you can plug into automatically. But just so you know, I would say that during this time, the last piece of the 5-piece puzzle is who could I refer to when my clients are moving, because you should already know, traditionally speaking, where these people would be going. Now, let's go into the next one. The next set of seasons. That's April to August. This
Rip it
is
season,
your
baby. Rip it season.
this is your rip it season. Matt, what is rip it season?
Man, this is where literally, like, this is where your structure, your planning that we haven't talked about yet, and your positioning, right? It either helps you or it hurts you. This is either where you have structure and you've got the leverage, the systems, and all those things to be able to provide the level of services you need to provide, or this is where you become overwhelmed, right? And things start falling through and you get on that roller coaster that you do not want to be on.
Yeah, Rip It season, Matt says, is also where you start like throwing back Rip Its and energy drinks just to make it through your day.
Yeah, this is where your day consists of 4 Rip Its, 2 protein bars, and a cheese stick.
Yeah. You know, it's funny.
I'm just saying,
Cheese
hey,
cheese
this is
stick.
yeah, we're preparing for Rip It season right now.
Well, Thursdays are Rip It season for the two of us because we do content all day on Thursdays. And so your girl's got chocolate covered strawberries and a cheese stick sitting right here just in case.
Well, I think one of the important things when we talk about
Oh,
the
man.
peak transaction season, right, Rip It season right now, me and you we talked about this earlier today on the Moving the Military Mindset call that we had today. I want you to dive in. You said Sunday is command center day. What are we talking about?
Yeah, I would say call it we call it command center day. So essentially on Sunday mornings, or if you go to church, maybe it's Sunday afternoons, but on Sunday you are hosting a command brief with yourself and your calendar and your appointment setting and all of these things. So you're looking for a few things. Number 1, do you have windows blocked out for consults? Because what I will tell you is that building appointments is really just about building the habit of being in front of people. So if you do not have, let's say, 3 appointments a week on your calendar blocked out, even if you have them or don't, you're never going to get in the habit of filling those spaces. So what I always was teaching to when I was running my team was, if you don't have an appointment to put during that block, go out and meet with a vendor. Go out and have a coffee with somebody in your sphere,
Have
because
an appointment.
have an appointment, whether it's going to pay you right now or not. But you should have consult windows. You should have listing prep time, buyer prep time, because there's nothing worse than snagging a live one and not knowing how to get them off the hook, right? Like, that's really bad. And you should also have time that you have for showings. And if you don't have a showing, go out on a preview and film it. Of course, get permission from the listing agent, but film it for content. So there are 2 things I think that should be in your calendar for the command center week, that no matter whether you're doing it with a live buyer or seller or not, you still are doing it. 1, consults. 2, you're in a house every single week, multiple times a week, whether you're showing a client or showing the internet. It doesn't really matter. The other thing that's happening during that time is I am going back and I'm saying no to all the BS that I accidentally said yes to. I'm looking at my schedule and saying, what are the low value, low ROI things that I put on this schedule that I'm about to cancel? And I will call the person and I will say the truth. Hey, I have a conflict and I'm so sorry. Can we put this on the books for another time? You don't have to lie and say you got a doctor's appointment. Like, I have a conflict. Well, guess who the conflict is with? Myself.
Me, myself, and I.
Me, myself, and I have something else that's a higher value ROI. So essentially, to your point, Matt, the command center day is a brief that you go through with you, and you course analysis everything for the next week. You cancel things that really shouldn't be done, and you add things that you don't have.
Well, I think the other thing too on that is the other thing you're doing, I mean, you talked about this. I'm looking at my listing pipeline, I'm looking at my buyer pipeline, and I'm actually asking myself, okay, out of these 7 listings, which one can I move this week? Which one can I put a little bit more ass behind, marketing behind the move? And then, hey, here are my buyers, right? If blank knew blank, they would be able to do blank. How do I get them to move the needle, right? This is how I keep it going. That happens during Command Center day.
Well, and more importantly, that's what I would like to call your unemployment line time.
Well,
Am
yeah,
I currently
that's such a great line.
Yeah, it's like so during your command center day, you have a section where it's called the unemployment line time. It's based on what Matt just said. This week, am I in the unemployment line? Because unfortunately, and I'm such a harsh person sometimes, back whenever I first started my team, people would come to me and be excited that they got somebody under contract, and I would celebrate with them and I would say, okay, great, now you're in the unemployment line. Every single person who did that, I was like, great, now you're in the unemployment. Well, what do you mean? Well, that was yesterday. For you to eat next month, you got to go find another person.
Yeah,
Like
if
we're
if I
already
have no appointments, nothing on my schedule, I am a f if I look on Sunday and
employed.
there's nothing on there, then I'm okay, I'm in the unemployment line this week, right? That's the harsh reality of this business, right? This is a job, it's not a hobby.
Yeah. Yeah, and there have been people I've coached in the past where a few of those weeks, too many in a row, I actually made them go to the unemployment office to fill out and grab an application, and they set it on their desk next to where they did their command center time because they knew if they had a few too many more of those, that application was going to become reality, and it was just enough to get them through to like actually doing it. So the next thing you're looking at is, can I streamline a system? So every single week during April and August, you should probably have 30 minutes, maybe an hour at the most, but 30 minutes is usually enough to see, can I pre-build a template? Can I create a text template that will make responses easier? Can I create an email template that will make things easier? My rule is if I have to say it or do it more than twice, it needs to have a template. And this is the 30 minutes for you to do that. All right, now we're going to communication time. Matt, what are the things that we should all be talking to our people about every single week?
Man, we should be talking to them about where we're at in the process, right? What is coming next, right? What do we need to mitigate? What the market's telling us. I mean, we should be communicating at the highest level weekly and daily, depending on where the person's at. But they've got to know where they're at in the process, what's coming next. They have to know that.
Yeah, and during April to August, you guys, if you don't have a system for that, you're going to miss it because there's so many other things going on that you could go 2, 3 weeks without communicating to a seller if you're not paying a lot of attention. And so I would say that have the same time every week where your seller knows I'm going to hear from him or her every Monday. Maybe not at the exact same time you're going to call, but hey, every Monday you and I are going to get on the phone. We're going to chat about what happened over the weekend. We're going to make an assessment because here, and if you're listening to this and it's not 2026, this may not be the case at this point, but where we are right now is that it's taking listings a long time to sell in almost every market in this country. So during that assessment time you have with that seller, you're not just, I want you to think about this differently. We're not just delivering information. We're having a strategic conversation back and forth because one is, hey, this sucks and here's a pile of poo. The other one is, hey, this sucks and let's figure out how to fix it. Um, I'm going to give this just like a free tip real quick before we start to wrap this section up. And like I said, the next segment we'll do September through December. Um, Something that you should do with every single listing when you take it, you're going to keep this piece of paper to yourself. You're going to write down, if the seller said yes to everything I suggested, here's a laundry list of every tiny nitpicky little thing that it would take to sell this house in the next 30 days. Because when you have that strategy session every Monday, you're going to give that list to the seller and say, hey, I know you may not say yes to all of this, but here's what I think professionally, if I didn't want to hurt your feelings, here's everything it would take to sell your house as fast as possible. When you have that conversation every Monday, you're either going to adjust the price or you're going to adjust a condition. The seller will know that ahead of time because you've communicated. Which one are we doing today? Are we reducing the price? We didn't sell it last weekend. Or are we choosing something on this list to fix? You can't get out of that moment without having one of those conversations.
Well, and this happens. And I'm going to take this, take me 30 seconds. This happens. You set this expectation at the buyer strategy session, or, I love to say it, the listing game plan. I don't call it a presentation, the listing game plan. Why? I'm going to set the expectation that we're going to communicate every Monday. What's going to happen? It's going to mitigate questions. They'll probably hold the questions till they know you're going to have a strategy session or a game plan conversation. It will reduce and mitigate the amount of questions coming because they will most likely hold them, but that starts at the expectation I start then.
Yeah. We're going to leave you guys with this last thing, and then Matt's going to use his energy to get us out of here, because at this point, we've taken you through the first 6 months of every year. We'll do another one of these in a few months. But the last thing during April to August, the biggest opportunity you have for social proof and content is during this time period. And
Photos
just
with everybody, everything.
Yeah, everything taken a photo of, everybody, you're taking a picture of the guy, taking a picture of the listing, you're taking a picture of the dog running into the backyard for the first time, like everything. And I will remind you of this. If you took the photo in March, you don't have to post it in March. You can post it anytime you want to. I think it's so funny that people are like, oh, somebody will know that this house was sold back 6 months ago. No, the heck they won't. They're not paying that much attention.
Well, that small person will, but everybody else won't.
Yeah, they're not going to. So between April and August, you're taking 12 months worth of success social proof. Okay, we've given you guys some quick and dirty things to write down, what you should be doing at this point if you want to be a military market authority. Matt, close us out of here. Get us out.
Yeah, what's up, everybody? Hey, this was some tactical tips. And here's the thing. Everything we talked about right now, because it is February, you still have time to implement right now and prepare yourself for, I'm going to say it, rip it season's coming, baby. Let's do it.
All right. Bye, everybody. We'll see you on the next podcast.